Hello beer tubers and welcome to another beer review with me, Peter, the master of hobbits, looking at this plethora of Iron Maiden beers. There we go. Huge Maiden fan myself. I've listened to this band since I was a teenager. And yeah, this is from their Legacy of the Beast tour in 2018, the Scandinavia shirt. I saw them in Copenhagen. That's the last time I saw them live. And that was, was it the late 2018? I can't remember, but that was just before, well, I guess a year before the whole COVID situation happened. But I'd love to see Iron Maiden again. It's a band I've seen many times. It's one of my favorites. So they, I think it's like 8 years ago, they did their very first beer, which was a collaboration beer they made with Robinson's Brewery in England. And they did this one, Trooper, which is very famous. It's been served at many different festivals, and when they play shows and whatnot, there would be a bar or just somewhere where you can drink Trooper beer, or even at the shows, I think, which is really cool. I mean, we could drink it in Copenhagen at least. And it's been served at Wacken, the festival that I've been going to many times in Germany, fantastic heavy metal festival. But we've always only been able to get the regular Trooper, and once in a while, I think the which one was the Belgian one? This one, Hallowed, has been in Denmark as well, and maybe also Red and Black. But they released this box here in Denmark, and I think they did so in the UK. The Trooper, the collection number 2. So this is the second time they do a collection box, which kind of looks like, one of the gear hauling boxes they use when they play shows. It's just a cardboard box, but it's a cool design, which comes with 12 bottles of Trooper beers with 6 variants, and then there's 2 bottles of each. I think it's really cool with a mix pack like this, so you can get to try the different beers. I know, they're probably not going to be mind-blowing beers. They're going to be beers that's more or less for everyone, because, most of the Iron Maiden fans aren't necessarily beer geeks. So, and also when you pair up with a brewery like Robinson's, it's going to be very traditional stuff. But yeah, I thought it was really cool, and since I'm a Maiden fan, I was like, I have to get this and check it out. So today we're trying this entire collection. I think the collection is somewhat similar to the first one they did. One of the things is just there's a couple new releases in there. I think the other one had more of the same beers or something like that, and it was also a different version of Trooper. But we're gonna start off with Trooper, the first of the bunch. So this is Trooper 666, and the big difference with this one is 6.6% alcohol. It's still a British or English strong kind of ale. I think technically it's been categorized as an extra special bitter, ESB. But the thing is, like with this one, there's not too much info on here. It just says like it has more strength and it's a more charged up recipe. So let's start out with the regular Trooper. So this one pours, what I remember, a golden, kind of slightly orange color, a bit of white head on there. Let's check out the aroma. Yeah, very classic British kind of regional brewery beer. It doesn't smell that modern at all. It smells so English. But, I think also Bruce Dickinson has a big, I don't know if he's a big fan, but he loves real ale and classic British beer. So it makes sense that this would be the kind of beer they did. I think that might even be a small hint of Cascade hops in here. There's a touch of buttery, kind of slightly diacetyl notes in there, but otherwise it's like nutty, bready, a little bit of a stewed fruitiness. It smells like what I remember, so let's try it. Cheers. It's definitely stronger than what I remember. Is there a touch of alcohol to this, actually? That's interesting, because it's only 6.6%. Loads of craft beers, this ABV. Or maybe it's just like spicy hop flavor. It drinks really, really English. Really bready. Really like classic stewed fruity flavors as well. Like a classic English yeast profile. And then like spicy hops. It could be like Fuggles or something like that. And there is even a hint of grapefruit or something. But I think that's because I remember them talking about using Cascade originally. It's okay. It's not, terrible beer. But it's just like, it is what it is. And there's definitely better like classic styled English beers, but in terms of ESB, but yeah, it's rather enjoyable. So let's move on to the next one. We're gonna try and do this somewhat quickly because you guys know me, I can talk for ages about beer. So this is the newer Trooper IPA. They decided to do an IPA as well. They don't say if it's English or American in style, But they do say, oh no, they say it references the American IPA revolution. So I'm guessing they're going to use some American hops, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be a more easygoing IPA. 4.3%, Golden IPA, full hoppy flavors. Yeah. Supposed to be a sessionable beer. Let's check it out. So yeah, 4.3. I guess that's like session IPA strength. It looks like a session IPA. It is definitely a light golden yellow color. It has that white head as well, like the regular Trooper. Let's check out this one. Yeah, very, very mild. Borderline smelling like macro breweries interpreting American IPA, to be honest. It's not far off, you know, Brooklyn Stonewall and stuff like that. And, you know, Brooklyn is not necessarily a macro brewery in the States, but in Denmark, in Scandinavia, it's brewed by Carlsberg. I don't think they are they partly owned by some big brewery? Carlsberg maybe? I don't know. There's that deal in Europe at least, but yeah, it's slightly oxidized. There's a little bit of a papery thing. But otherwise it's light citric piney hops. Like it smells like, you know, not going all in with hops. But you know, it's also made for an audience that's not probably going to be into a crazy bitter West Coast IPA or juice bomb of a New England IPA. But it smells somewhat drinkable. There is some fruitiness. I'm actually picking up a bit of stone fruit. Let's try it. Cheers. But better on the flavor, for sure. And also Stonewall IPA from Brooklyn. It's not like terrible. It's actually okay to drink if you're out at bars and you're partying and that's all you can get. It's reminding me still of something like that. It doesn't really taste oxidized. And it's definitely got some bitterness, which is nice. But it's definitely very run-of-the-mill. It's piney, grapefruity. There's a bit of a floral edge. And then, yeah, a little bit of stone fruit character. It's all right. It really reminds me of those kind of macro interpretations of IPAs. This one is a bit interesting, though, the next one here. So this is Sun and Steel. And this is a sake lager. This is one of the beers that's been the longest time in the making. I saw a little video clip of this where Bruce talked about how he got, after a long time of debating with a sake producer in Japan, they got the sake fungi you use for making sake, called koji, I think. No, koji is the rice. They got the fungi, at least, that you use for making sake, and they wanted to do this sake lager because Bruce apparently really loves sake. So they tried to kind of make a hybrid and do a refreshing lager where they put in some sake and then they did a secondary fermentation with the sake yeast or fungi. I think it's koji, but yeah, it'll be interesting. Sake lager. So if you guys follow the channel, you know I'm a huge lager fanboy, and you know I love freshly brewed, awesome craft lagers and lagers from small breweries, classic breweries and whatnot. So we'll see how this fares compared to something like that. It looks great. Very pale golden yellow with a nice white head. It looks very much like the IPA. Man, that is mild. That's definitely the mildest of the bunch. It has a little bit of a cereal grain profile, but it's like super devoid of any hop character. Maybe just a little grassiness. But I do think there is a sake vibe to it. Just like a little bit. Well, let's try it. Cheers. That's actually pretty damn boring. Whoa, this really drinks more like a macro. Man, I'm so disappointed. I'm a huge Maiden fan, and I'm a beer geek. I'm not gonna fault Maiden. I still love Maiden, man. I knew these beers would be something like this, but I just want to try them because I was, you know, I'm a big fan. But this is just like drinking macro beer, really. It's almost like drinking American light lager, to be honest. It's so light and corny, almost like a little bit of that high fructose corn syrup type flavor. And then there's this soft hint of something that reminds me of sake, but it's like next to nothing. Just like a light fruity finish. I think a lot of people at metal shows would dig drinking this because you could smash loads of it and get really hammered. It's also, I forgot to mention the ABV of this one, 4.8%, so it's not very strong either. But it just needs a bit more character in my mind. It's a bit boring. Little bit of a crackery malt, and what hoppy character that is there is lightly grassy, but it's so light and devoid of character. I actually thought I'd enjoy that one a lot for some reason, but nope. So let's move on to Hallowed. So this is a 6% Belgian-inspired beer. They say they wanted to do a Belgian type beer because Bruce also really likes Belgian beer, but with English tradition and keep it English. So it's 6%, and it says that it has Trooper DNA running through its veins. So they used, I'm guessing, a similar malt grist to Trooper. It's just a tad darker, and they use crystal rye, which is giving it this dark color. And then they used Belgian yeast in there. So it says Belgian style yeast, so I wonder what that means. They probably, and then noble hops. They probably use some kind of, you know, classic, easy to get, easy access Belgian yeast to produce it. But yeah, let's check this one out. It looks, as I said, a little bit like Trooper. It's more of a dark copper color. You know, it looks like also like commercial examples of Belgian beer. It kind of looks like Grimbergen. You know, that's probably the most famous macro-produced Belgian style beer at the moment. And it's got a slightly off-white eggshell colored head. Let's check out the aroma on Hallowed. So yeah, this smells a bit more authentic than I actually thought it'd be. It's got that classic Belgian yeast character and some like stewed fruitiness and candy sugar vibes. I'm getting like, almost like there's a phenolic character that's almost like clovey. It's like clovey and stewed apple. This actually smells pretty decent. And then definitely some spicy rye in there. There's some caramel malt. There's some like bready malt character. Yeah, this actually doesn't smell too far off the mark. Let's try it. Cheers. Much fuller body than all of the other beers. Spicy, caramelly, bready, super, like the aroma indicates much more yeast character, but the flavor is a bit more restrained on it. There is some of that kind of classic Belgian flair, phenolic spice, think black pepper and cloves. But it ain't a lot. It's also like, it's almost drinks like macro interpretation of, you know, Belgian beer. It's not too far off from the Grimbergen. One thing I like more though in this than the Grimbergen beers is that it is a whole lot less sweet. A lot of the Grimbergen beers are filled with sugar, and they're so much sweeter than something like this. Not half bad. Then let's move over to this one. So I think I've seen this one before as well, but I just haven't tried it. But this is the Red and Black, which is a 6.8% porter. The reason why I'm doing this one before the Stout is because the Stout looks like it has more roasted barley, so I think even though it's lower strength, it might overshadow this because this is more red than black, really, but I guess that's why they call it Red and Black. It's got a blend of chocolate and crystal malts, which is giving it its color and malt character, it says, and then, you know, this is the first attempt at making a darker beer in the Trooper series. So it looks... it's too dark to be a... yeah, I know. It almost looks like a lightly darker brown ale. I think it's very light colored for a porter. I know porters can be lighter in color, especially the traditional ones, but it's almost like looking like a Scotch ale maybe or something like that. Like, I think maybe that could be a touch more of chocolate malt if that's what they're using, as it says on the label. And then a beige head. Let's check out the aroma on this one. Woo, that is crazy mild. I didn't expect that for the strongest beer of the series. It's like, man, that is so light. There's so little amount of flavor that it's really hard to really pinpoint things. And because it's so mellow. So there is a hint of a chocolate malt. I can't smell it the more I smell it and swirl it. There's a hint of that slightly chocolatey thing. It's not really like real chocolate, but in light amounts, chocolate malts kind of taste like, well, what they are, malts. So it's like a chocolatey malt flavor, not that crazy chocolate flavor you can get in Big Imperial Stout, for example. And then there is a little bit of a buttery note, just like in the regular Trooper beer. Yeah, and then there's a touch of caramel. Yeah, nothing crazy. Let's try this one. Ooh, is this... There is some toastiness, some toasty malty flavor. If you gave this to me blind, I don't think I would guess porter because it's just lacking dark malt flavor to me. It's so soft and subtle. Like, it's toasty and caramelly, and also spicy, and then a little bit buttery. It also has a stewed fruitiness. Again, like, kind of classic English yeast flavor. But if you want to drink a classic English porter with loads of flavor, you should definitely check out something like Fuller's London Porter or Samuel Smith's Teddy Porter. They're much better than this. Also much more full and creamy. This is a bit more, it has a decent body, but it's not like rich. It's all right. It's all right. So let's move on to the final beer, Fear of the Dark. This is their English Stout on 4.5%. It says this is the first stout they do. It says dark roasted chocolate stout. I guess they use some chocolate malts and some dark roasted malts in this one. So yeah, first stout, first really dark beer, I guess, in the Trooper series, because I guess this counts and also this, but first Trooper stout. It'd be fun if like they do their old ale. Like Old Tom from Robinson is a great classic old ale as far as I remember. I haven't had it in years, but back in the day I loved it. You know, if they did, you know, they do beers like that, maybe do like stronger beers in the series, like 8-10%, and do some imperial strength classic beer. That'd be awesome. But yeah, the stout, it's black, definitely. It's actually quite dark for also its ABV. And it's got a slightly tan head. Let's check out the aroma. Yeah, it smells like a fresh bag of roasted barley. There's loads of roasted barley character on this one. Charry, full-on roasted. It actually smells pretty good. It smells fresher than the others too. There is some breadiness to it as well. Toasted burnt breadiness, touch of caramel, touch of licorice. Maybe not so much caramel. A little bit of an ashy burnt woodiness. Yeah, it smells surprisingly decent. Let's try it. Cheers. Flavor is much lighter on roast character than the aroma indicated. There's definitely that classic roasted barley flavor. It tastes like roasted barley. It's not like, you know, full-bodied and crazy if you think stout, because it's a 4.5% stout, so it's more light-bodied. It's kind of what I'd expect from a beer of this ABV that's in this style. Just like light, maybe slightly slick body, but I feel like both the porter and the Belgian beer for sure has the biggest bodies, but they also have more malts because they're stronger in ABV. But yeah, it's toasty, charry, roasty. There's a burnt woodiness. There's also some stewed fruitiness to this, licorice. But all the flavors I mentioned in all of the beers are fairly mellow. There's only two beers that really spring out with more flavor, and it's the Belgian beer and oddly enough the IPA. The IPA has a bit more zing to it, but like they definitely taste like they're brewed to an audience that maybe aren't as keen on crazy expressive flavor. You know, and an audience that might not be too into craft beer, but otherwise they're fairly well balanced beers and they're very easygoing. But to be frank, in general, they are somewhat boring. But that was what I thought going into this, and what my kind of general idea that it would be something like that. Somewhat boring beers. So I don't think we're gonna grade every single individual beer. They're around the same territory. Most of them, maybe this one sticking out as the best one. Which might even get an, 82-ish or something like that, maybe an 80. And this one would be around that territory as well. I think the regular Trooper, and maybe a little bit less actually compared to the regular because it's a bit boozy. But they're not world-class crazy beers. They're, beers that everyone can drink and really easygoing beer. And beer doesn't always have to be crazy, but for a beer geek, they are frankly a touch boring, I must say. But if you're going out, like I will be after this, my friend Christopher behind the camera as well, we're going to a beer guild dinner in our beer club we have. This is a good start. They're easygoing, they're easy to drink, they're good for what it is. They're meant for drinking at Maiden shows where you're ready to crush a few beers and have a great time seeing a fantastic live performance, which, you know, Maiden is one of the best live performances, I think, in metal. So in terms of a rating for the box here, for the set, you get a little bang for your buck. I paid 300 Danish crowns for this, which is about 25 crowns per bottle. And 25 crowns per bottle in Danish standards is not that much. I mean, for 33 centiliters, it could be, I guess, less. I can't remember. I think the big bottles are around 35, 40. It's probably a whole lot cheaper in the UK, but welcome to Denmark and Danish prices. But in terms of a general rating, I'd probably score this just the same grade as I scored the regular Trooper beer, around like 78 to 80. It's okay beer. It's kind of average beer. It's not something, you know, it's around that like high C kind of territory if we're talking grades. It's not something that's going to rock your world, but if you're a Maiden fan, it's fun to check out. And, you know, if you're going out, why not? Just crack some of these and have some fun. And, you know, or if I was at a Maiden show, like last time when I saw them on the Legacy of the Beast tour, it was real fun just drinking Trooper beers and listening to Maiden. So that's how it is. So if you guys had a chance to try any of these Maiden beers, I know, you know, a few of you guys probably have. I wouldn't recommend trying to seek them out unless you're a Maiden fan, but are they worth a shot? Yeah, you know, it's okay. It's all right. It's kind of average beer. If you guys tried any of these beers, let me know what you thought of them. As always, remember to comment, subscribe, check out the Facebook fan page and Twitter and Instagram. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it as well. And yeah, cheers to metal, cheers to Iron Maiden, and see you guys in another beer review.